Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's class, the Living Kabbalah, where we talk about the energy of the week, how we can grow, how we can connect to better versions of ourselves, how we can be better. What's coming up this week that we can use to help us go to our next level. Because as Kabbalists teach, every week is very unique, is very special. It's almost like its own creation, its own entity, its own being. And the more we study it, the more consciousness we have about it, the more understanding we have about it, the more we'll be able to extract as much light or much more light than we normally can. So we want to, just 1 second. So we want to study, the more we're going to study about this week's portion, this week's energy, what kind of astrological influences are happening. The more we know, the better we're off, right? So we want to kind of really extract all the light that is available for us this week, so we come out on top this week, and that we don't feel that things are going against us, but we really feel that we're going with the flow. And always good to ask questions: why we're here, what we are meant to do here, how we can understand ourselves, people around us, our environment better, how we can be better and more in this world. So Kabbalists always ask questions. Questions are the key to answers. Questions are the way you really build a vessel to receive a certain light. Questions is how you really understand the world and how you open yourself up and be more in the flow of energy, and not just being a victim of energy, right? It's incredible to believe and to understand that we are actually the ultimate creators of our whole life and existence, right? It's mind-boggling that everything around you, every experience, every relationship, everything that you are going through, everything inside of you, outside of you, is actually your own creation. Can be pretty fascinating, right, when you think about it. And this week is very special. We're in the middle of the week of month of Scorpio, and as we know, Scorpio is one of the most usually conventionally, it's a very challenging time, very challenging month. Even Kabbalistically, by nature, when you look at the month, it doesn't have any holidays in it, and that's usually an indication that you don't have any kind of like breaks, like boosts of energy. So that's why the Rav always shared that the first day of the month, of this month in particular, is a very powerful day, because this is where all the energy of the whole day comes to us. And we're in the middle of the month of Scorpio. Mercury is in retrograde. If that means anything to you, that's always a good information to know. It affects some people. It's actually in a very good position right now. It's not in a kind of bad position. It's actually supporting us to go deeper, because it's amplifying all the Scorpio energy. So we're in the month of Scorpio. We're in the week called Lech-Lecha, which means go out. You go out, go out, where the elevation and the story of Abraham the patriarch begins. He is a very important figure in world history and for Kabbalists. He is the founder of all monotheistic religions. That's why everyone is considered a descendant. Everyone in our world today is considered a descendant of Abraham. All main religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, are connected to Abraham. They look up to him. He's considered a forefather of all of these movements. Kabbalistically, he's one of the most important Kabbalists of all time. He's a very special character. And basically, we're starting a 3-week journey where we're going to learn about his travels, his elevations, his elevation in his own process. Why is he important? What did he go through? What did he leave for us? Why is he considered such an important figure for so many people around the world? And in general, who was he? Who was Abraham? So Abraham is, when we go all the way back to 2 weeks ago, when we started the story of creation, or the creation of Adam and Eve, we are all parts of Adam and Eve. We are all parts of the soul of Adam and Eve. And we, every day, actually, every single day of our life, what we are doing is we're actually redoing, going back to where Adam and Eve were before their consciousness fell, quote unquote. And these major patriarchal figures, they were the biggest supporters of this movement, and they were actually reincarnations of part of Adam. So Abraham is actually the reincarnation of the sharing aspect of Adam, of the right side, the side of supporting, you can say, the side of sharing, giving, kindness aspect of Adam, that was reincarnated into Avram. In this week's portion, he starts with his name being Avram, not Abraham, because he was missing a letter in his name that he eventually gets in this week's portion. So he was Avram, and he became Abraham. He received one of the letters, the letter Hey, into his name, that made him a better vessel for Creator's light. So he actually was an Aries. He was born under the sign of Aries. It says that he was actually born with all the desire to receive for oneself alone, meaning he was initially not someone who was a person that was by nature a sharing person. In fact, the opposite. He was a person who was very much involved in serving himself, doing things for himself, not thinking about society, not thinking about others, not thinking about his surroundings, but focusing mainly on his own self. And that was his nature. That's how he came into this world. That's how he operated for the first years of his life. But he had something very special. He had something very, very special and very unique. He had a tremendous desire to connect to the Creator. It says that he probably had the biggest desire in his time to connect to the Creator, And this was the reason that he started to go on his journey. He was 75 years old, and he started to develop such a huge desire to connect to truth, to connect to what really happens in this world, to connect to where is the Creator? What is the Creator? What is the meaning of life? Why are we here? How can we have a better life? How can we have a good life? How can we have a happy life? He had such a strong desire to awaken that in him and in others, that he started to break through huge barriers in this world. He started to break through the biggest blockages or the biggest klipot that existed. That's why his name is also, he's called Ivri, or a Hebrew. And what it means is going against. And the Kabbalah is describing as someone who went against, almost like a stream or a river. Somebody who completely went against his nature, completely. So one thing that we do get from Abraham this week is an enormous desire to connect to the light. And one thing that we can be meditating on this whole week is to increase and amplify our desire to connect to the light. This is something very special and very important, very unique. It's not, it's not necessarily, some people are born with it, and some people can obtain it. This incredible desire to connect to truth, to connect to the light, to connect to the universe, to connect to yourself, to be really in sync with everything around you. This was Abraham's ultimate starting point. This is what brought him to where he started to connect to his greatness, is this incredible desire to really connect to the light, to really connect to the universe, to do all the effort that was required from him in order to connect to the light. So it's actually, in order, the aspect about us obtaining it is we can actually talk to Abraham. We can talk to Abraham. We can talk to his soul. We can connect to his energy. We can connect to his light. And we can ask him to give us a bigger way, a bigger desire to connect to the light. That we have this incredible desire, that we have this incredible certainty that there is a light, that there is a creator, that there is a force that created everything in this universe, that there is a force that created the truth, that created the love, etc. And that we are by birthright, it's not that we can, it's our destiny, it's our birthright to connect to the creator. So one thing that we can ask this week is asking Abraham to help us have a bigger desire. Because one thing that every single person on this planet suffers from is a small desire. We all have a very, very small desire. Imagine, basically, if we would put ourselves in the type of Abraham, imagine there is no spirituality, there's no belief in one creator, there's no belief in cause and effect, there's no belief in ultimate good, there's no belief in sharing. There was none of that. It was simply people just living in their total desire to receive for oneself alone. Even as far as we all know, the two cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, what the creator decided to level them, the real reason why is because their sharing was considered a crime. Giving food to the poor, giving charity was considered a crime in the time of Abraham. So he was born in a very, very difficult time. There wasn't a Kabbalah center on 48th Street or in Queens where you can just go and study. There was none of that. It was pure darkness. The world was in a very dark place. And not only that, he was born into a family. His father, Terach, was the biggest salesman of idols in the world, the biggest. And idols wasn't just, statues. It was a belief system, right? A belief that, I need to please this creature, this entity, the god of rain, and then it's gonna rain. Oh, I need to please this creature, this god of so and so, and then it's gonna happen. There was no belief in cause and effect, and no belief in spiritual growth at all. It was wild. It was ridiculous to even think that I need to work on myself. So Abraham broke through all these limits. He completely broke through. He said, I'm not going for that. That's not how the world operates. He looked at the world around him and he said, there must be something wrong. Something is not right. Something is just not clicking, not gelling, not working. And this desire, this incredible desire to connect to the truth, to connect to reality and to connect to the light, is what made Abraham be connected to the creator. And not only that, it's the reason why we have spirituality right now. If Abraham didn't do the work that he did, we wouldn't have spirituality. And you can talk hours and hours about Abraham and all the unique qualities that he had, but one of the main ones is going against nature. And that's the reason is, another reason is because he also went above the astrological influences. And that's another main gift that we have this week. So Abraham, at the time also, astrology was very big. And Abraham was considered the best astrologer in the world. And that's why he was able to, read his own chart. That's why he was able to determine future. He was very wealthy. He was very connected. However, the weekly portion begins with the word Lech-Lecha, which means go out. You go out. Meaning go out of your old belief systems, your old beliefs, your old programs. Everything that is old, to go out of that. That's why it says go out of your home. Is it actually the creator is telling him there's an aspect in astrology that is very important, the houses, right? There's 12 houses. There's 12 signs and there's also 12 houses. And they're very much connected and help astrologers read charts. So the creator is telling him, stop believing in the 1% reality. Stop believing in what you see around you. Stop believing and stop being so dogmatic about what you believe is right now. Break through, go against it, go completely against it. Break through all the limits that you hold on to. Completely break through them and connect to the truth. And that's why Lech-Lecha really means you go out. It means go out of your limiting belief system that tells you that astrology is going to forecast and determine who you are and how you live your life. Very important understanding that in Kabbalah, there is absolutely no dogmatic belief that astrology determines your life, right? If you were born under the sign of Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, whatever sign you were born in, it does not mean that this is who you are. It doesn't mean that this is who you're going to be for the rest of your life. This is the reason why the wisdom of Kabbalah exists, in order for us to understand that we exist to be whoever we want to be. You want to be happy, you're going to be happy. You want to be connected, you will be connected. You want to be in flow, you will be in flow. You want to be healed, you will be healed. You want to have understanding, you will have understanding. Don't be limited by anything around you. Anything. Nothing around you should determine how you feel, what you are, etc. So maybe as a quick workshop, and we should think about things that you set yourself in stone for yourself. That you told yourself that, oh, this is how it is, this is how it's going to be, and that's it. And this is it. This is reality. So think about, at least let's take a minute where we're going to think about certain beliefs about ourselves, about our life, about our environment, about anything that's around you that you consider set in stone. Okay? So 1 minute to think of aspects that you consider unchangeable. Okay? Okay, so let's continue. Hopefully everyone had time. If you have any questions, by the way, feel free to raise your hand or to wave, whichever way is easier for you to ask a question. Would be definitely welcome. So this week, it's very interesting also. This week, obviously this portion always falls in the month of Scorpio, and Scorpio is a fixed sign, as you know. A fixed sign meaning sign that doesn't believe so much in change, doesn't believe in big transformation. They love depth. They love, they're the sign of extremes. They're the signs of yes and no, black and white, but they're a fixed sign, meaning it's not an easy thing for them to change. If they do decide to change, it's amazing. They can reach the highest heights if they do that. However, if they are fixed, if they're totally in their nature, not spiritual, it's a very uncomfortable situation. So Abraham broke through all that. Abraham created a path for us to do that. He gives us this ability, he gives us this understanding where we can understand that I can change anything in my life. Anything in my life is changeable. So it's very interesting also, just some historical background about Abraham. He was actually 75 years old when the Creator spoke to him for the first time. So it wasn't like he, communicated with the Creator all the time. It was only when he was 75, which is very interesting. 7 plus 5 is 12. It also represents the astrological houses and signs, that when he kind of went on his journey to really transform his nature. And the other side of this week is the energy of going completely, also becoming a completely different person in any area of your life. So, like I said, the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they were all different incarnations of Adam's soul. And Abraham was the reincarnation of the mercy side, of the right column of Adam. And by nature, when Abraham was born, he didn't have a natural desire to share, to give, to contribute. And this is to me, this is just such a powerful lesson, that to help us understand that it doesn't matter whoever you were born, whatever you are, you can be 180 degrees a total opposite of who you initially are. So imagine Abraham, one of the normally selfish, regular person that exists in the world. And he starts to understand the truth that the way to elevate, the way to connect to the Creator, the way to fulfill your mission is only by going against your natural tendencies, going against what you naturally feel inclined to do. So Abraham had an initial inclined desire to receive for oneself alone. That was his initial desire. I want to receive. I want to focus on myself. He had very good boundaries. He knew how to accomplish. He knew how to receive. And Aries, most likely he was an Aries. It's an assumption from some of the Kabbalists that he was an Aries, meaning someone who thinks about himself first. Now, what he eventually becomes is he becomes a total conduit of mercy, meaning his nature, his DNA, not only on a spiritual soul level, but also on his DNA level, it changed, it transformed. He started to become a conduit, an entity, a being of sharing for the whole world. This is to me, this is mind-blowing, because I always grew up looking in a classical Kabbalistic perspective. Abraham is always perceived as a conduit, as a chariot, as a merkava for sharing, for chesed, for all about giving, all about sharing. This was him. It says that he had such a tremendous and huge desire to share and give, he could barely restrict it. That's how I always looked at Abraham. And then when I found out that it was actually not his nature, he completely changed his nature so much that he went completely against it, and he became a conduit of sharing from his own will. That to me was remarkable. And all the patriarchs, we're going to learn more about each one as we get to them, but all of them were initially the opposite of who they became a chariot of. And Abraham, being a chariot of mercy, helps us also do a tikkun of how we share, how kind we are, how compassionate we are, how much giving we do, how much care we do, how much care we have. So this week, we are all tuned in to the ability, to the tikkun, the kind of the radio wave that the Creator is sending us is a radio wave of sharing. Amplify, fix, and elevate your ability to share, your right side, your hesed, which is obviously the most fundamental, that a person needs to have this attribute of giving and sharing in order to be connected to the Creator. Right? As I'm sure you heard, in days before there was a Kabbalah center open for anyone to walk in and study the wisdom of Kabbalah, when a Kabbalist would be looking for someone to see if they're a potential student of the wisdom of Kabbalah, the quote-unquote test would be to see how much sharing they have, if they have this natural tendency to share. And if they did, that means that they had a potential to study the wisdom of Kabbalah. So this week, we can ask ourselves, how is my sharing? How is my kindness? How is my compassion? How am I doing with connecting to the Creator in that aspect? Am I thinking of others? Is my natural tendency to be critical and to judge, or is it more of a mercy? And if you find that you are critical and judgmental, that's an amazing thing. That means you found a treasure. That means you found something that will help you become a better version of yourself. So don't think that, oh, I found this and that means I'm a bad person, etc., and so forth. No, that means you found something that will help you elevate to your next level. So major consciousness of transformation, totally breaking limits of physical reality, of astrology, of our old belief, etc., going against it completely. Now, it's also interesting that it says Abraham had 10 tests with the Creator. So as much as he was connected, it does not mean that he was basically a robot. It doesn't mean that he was just robotically, even though you could say that he was kind of like almost robotically performing acts of sharing. The reason why he became like that is because he trained himself. He was the ultimate first pioneer of spirituality. So one of the things, another thing that we get is the ability to connect to your higher version of yourself, in amplifying, increasing, and purifying our sharing, to make sure that when you share, the ultimate level of consciousness, whenever I give, whenever I share, is the understanding that I am becoming closer to the Creator. And that's why I'm doing this act of sharing. It's not to look good in other people's eyes. It's not to, do the right thing. It's not moral. It's not, tactful. It's not because you were taught, etc. That's not the right reason to share. The right reason to share is because this too connects me closer to the Creator. So obviously the story also involves Sarah, right? All the patriarchs, they had the male aspect of them and the female aspect of them. Abraham and Sarah, who in next week's portion is going to have a miracle perform her, a baby. And Isaac is going to be born to her at the age of 89, which is a total miracle, right? Another miracle that happened. But not only that she was 89, but actually it says that Abraham, whenever he looked at their charts, at the charts of Abraham and Sarah, he saw that it is impossible for them to have kids. It's impossible. It was completely physically impossible for them to have kids. And it was only because Abraham's desire that the Creator actually revealed himself. And another interesting connection that happens this week is the Brit, or the circumcision. And Abraham becomes the first person in this world who performs a circumcision on himself, basically. And because he did this action, this is the reason why Isaac, Yitzchak, was able to be born through Abraham and Sarah, is because Abraham did such an intense, imagine, I don't know if you've ever been to that, or you can imagine, but imagine performing a circumcision on yourself. That's very intense. You have to have a huge desire to connect to the light in order to do that. But he actually does it. And because of that, the Creator tells him that you will merit. The Creator blesses him with the presence of 3 angels, Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael, and they all come with a different job. The angel Michael or Michael blesses Abraham and Sarah to have a child in a year. Raphael comes to heal, and Gabriel comes to actually cause havoc onto Sodom and Gomorrah and level them, because they were just not getting with the program as much as Abraham tried to change them. Now, another interesting aspect of this week is the comparison of how Noah and Abraham acted. So Noah, in last week's portion, he, for 120 years, he knew that the flood is coming. He knew that the end of the world is coming. He knew that in 120 years, this world will be destroyed. Everything will be drowned. Everything will be boiled or frozen or completely. Life will be destroyed on planet. And the Creator tells him that, right? Because he was also actually a reincarnation of the soul of Adam. And what does Noah do? He's like, okay, so I'm just going to build an ark for myself. And that's it. He basically spends zero effort to help anyone in the world change. Zero effort. Zero. There was no, he eventually reincarnates as Moses, who has the responsibility of, elevating 3 million souls. But at that time, he could have done the tikkun also. He could have done that elevation. But he, instead of helping people, he's like, oh, okay, flood is coming. I'll just take care of myself. That's obviously not the best action that you want to do. And the first change comes with Abraham, who says, oh, there's damage about to happen. There's something negative that's about to happen. Let's change. Let's transform. He starts to pray. He starts to meditate. He starts to argue with the Creator and tell the Creator, this is not right. You're not doing the right thing. You shouldn't destroy people. You shouldn't kill people. He was fighting for them. He went completely outside of his comfort zone to say this is not how it should be. And there's a whole section in this week's portion where he argues with the Creator, and he says, no, even if there is, Even what if there's 50 good people in that city? What if there's 40, 30, 20, 10? Even if there's one good person in that city, you should still save the city. So he was really showing a completely different side of characteristical trait than Noah. Noah, who was basically just, okay, flood is coming, I'll build an ark. Avram, oh my God, there's a chaos about to happen. Let's inspire people to change. That's another thing that we can receive from Avram, that not just to, if you know something good, go out and help others, inspire people. Go out and be a force of positivity, be a force of kindness in this world. Like Karen Berg had a whole campaign, be a force of kindness, one Rosh Hashanah. And that's what Abraham was. He was a force of kindness. He wasn't willing to say to the Creator, so there's an end coming. Okay, so I guess that's it. No, he said there's an end. We're gonna try to prevent it. Very much like Rav and Karen, also the founders, the spiritual leaders of a center. They found the wisdom, and Karen told the Rav, if we know this wisdom, it's literally illegal for us just to keep it to ourselves. It's illegal. We have to give it and try to bring it out to the world. And that's what they did. And that's what, thanks to that, we're here. So this desire, not just to keep kind of good things to ourselves, but to be able to say, you know what, if I have this incredible thing, why don't I go and help the world? Why don't I go and help others and inspire people and help people change? So Abraham was a very proactive individual, very proactive. This is something that we all can ask, and I love this quality about him, that he was a doer, he was a mover, he was a shaker. He did not just sit and take life as it came, he created life. He was like a fire. He was like a force of fire that went after life, that went after the light force. He did not just sit passively. He was a total cause in his life. So that's another attribute that we all know, that the sign of Scorpio is very much full of desire, right? Scorpios have a tremendous desire. It's one of the most positive sides of their sign and their trait is that they have such a strong desire to connect to the light, to connect to the Creator, to connect to truth, to connect to the depth, to connect to basically everything in this world. They're all about connecting to the truth. And it's a very powerful sign. And that's one of their superpowers, is their huge desire. And usually people born under this sign, they're not just very kind of bland people. They're very they have spice to them, very something like fiery to them. And this is one thing that we can receive, is this tremendous desire to really change, to really transform, to really connect to the light. So, and also to be a bigger force of light in this world. That to me is very beautiful. That you can ask the Creator, how I can be a force of positivity in this world. How can I break through the limits that exist and become literally a force, like a laser beam of kindness, of spirituality, of Kabbalah in this reality? Now, so we spoke about, first of all, fixing our tikkun, elevating our right side, right? Our kindness, our sharing. That's Abraham. Going against our nature, completely breaking through our, whatever we believe is set in stone. Going above our astrological signs, being there for other people, breaking your nature, completely breaking all your old patterns, your nature, etc. Understanding that it is total false. All these beliefs, everything that exists, it can be destroyed and recreated in yourself. Everything, nothing is set in stone. We mentioned that he totally elevated his against the family that he came from also, right? Like I mentioned, it's very interesting that it says the reason why his soul was able to be born is because when the opponent was looking that his father is about to have a baby, is about to have his father and his mother about to have another baby, the opponent was so sure that nothing good can come out from those two people that the opponent said, okay, I don't even have to work there. This is just going to work out on its own. I don't have to put any effort in helping something bad to happen. I'm sure this soul is not going to be positive. And that's why the creator and the not just the creator, but the positive forces in this world were able to kind of sneak in the soul of Abraham into this reality, because the opponent was so sure that there is no way any positivity will come out from those people. And actually, it's mentioned a few times in the writings that whenever it was like a guarantee that the child or the offspring is not going to be positive, the creator was like, the opponent was like, I don't have to make any effort here. And those moments is actually when some of the biggest sparks of light and some of the biggest souls were born, which is very interesting. I always relate it also in physical reality. For example, Leonardo da Vinci, he was born to a 12-year-old girl that was raped by a pirate. And, I'm sure the world became a much better place because he was born, of his inventions, of his art, etc. But was it obvious from his birth? A 12-year-old girl being raped by a pirate, and then you have this baby, you have this incredible baby. And a lot of times also King David, also the parents of King David and the lineage of King David doesn't come from such a positive place. We'll learn about it in the future, in the upcoming weeks. So this is another lesson, is that whenever we feel that there's so much negativity, whenever we feel like there's no hope, whenever we feel like there is no way that this could get better, this is actually a sign that you're right before the breakthrough, or this is a huge opportunity and a tremendous amount of light will be revealed in that situation. Never look at things on the surface level. If you look at things that, this is just how it is, this is just bad, this is how it's going to be. I feel bad today, that means it's going to be a bad day. It's not going right, well, it means it's a bad sign. Things are not going off to a good start, that's a bad thing. Etc., etc. We are so obsessed when things don't go right that we assume that it's something bad. We don't understand that actually it's a sign that the opponent is investing extra energy to prevent this scenario, this situation from happening. And the way he's going to do that is to inject doubt. And the way he injects doubt is by making things not go the right way. The Rav and Karen would always say, when something is off to a rough start, that means it's good. When something is off to a rough start, it means it's a very good thing about to happen. When something is off and it's a very easy and things are just happening, it might just happen, and that's a good thing also. But it might not mean that will reveal so much light. But when something, I know for myself, for example, when I'm going to a class and I am either tired or exhausted or not feeling my best, etc., that will be the best class. That will be the most amazing class. When I'm going in and it's smooth, that means I have to put even more effort to make the class good. However, if it's rough in the beginning, it's going to only get better. It's only good. Like Rav Ashlag always said, if it's bitter, the more bitter the fruit is at the start, the sweeter it's going to be when it ripens. So this is a major lesson for ourselves. That, for example, the relationship that Abraham and Sarah had. Abraham could have said, he really wanted a child. The Creator keeps promising for years, for 20 years, the Creator promises him, you're going to have a child, you're going to have an offspring, and he's going to be, like the sand of the ocean and the stars in the sky. And Abraham is like, dude, my wife cannot get pregnant. Literally, she cannot get pregnant. How are we going to have this baby? And he could have easily said, maybe I should change my wife. Maybe I should have a different wife. But no, he didn't just give up. He said, okay, if that's meant to happen, that means I just need to push more. That means I just need to push more and be more resilient. So that's a very powerful lesson to always keep in our mind. When things are not going right, it's only a sign that they will get better. Never believe things on the surface level. Never believe that, oh, it's not going right. Oh, it's a little difficult. Oh, it's not, it's not easy, etc. Oh, that's it. It's not going to work. It's not going to happen, etc. No, total false. The harder in the beginning, the more light you're going to reveal. Okay, so that's just to remember for ourselves. So many different lessons, and highly recommend to study something about this week's portion every day. Another, it's gonna happen. Another interesting process. It's also very interesting that we're in this week's portion also is the seed level of the end of the tikkun of this world. There's also in this week's portion, in these portions, is when another interesting character, Lot, which is a nephew of Abraham, he lives in the town of Sodom and Gomorrah, and he was basically in between. He was kind of believing in Abraham, but also didn't want to go against the people that he lived around. So he didn't really want to cause too much, upstir. And long story short, two of his daughters think that the world is destroyed and that their father is the last remaining man alive. And they're like, we have to do something for humanity. We have to save human race. And it's the last choice. We have to get pregnant through our father. And that they do that. They make their father-in-law drunk, and they actually sleep with him, one night, the other one next night, without him knowing. And the lineage of King David actually comes from that incident. So again, at the beginning, on the surface level, obviously it's not recommended, or but on the surface level, it's such a intensely uneasy incident, right? And looks like it's going to only come out and be negative. However, from that interaction comes such a tremendous a positive force as King David. And without that interaction, actually, it wouldn't happen. His soul would not be able to happen. That's why in the weekly portion, we know that there's no dots above letters, in the whole scroll of the Torah. The only time is when there's a tremendous amount of light happening. And in this week's portion, the place where it says that his daughter got up from being with her father, there's a dot. And this dot is an indication that there's actually something positive happening there. And if you look at the big picture, and that's what actually studying Kabbalah does to us, it helps us go deeper. It helps us dig deeper and not look at things on a surface level. Look at things on a more deep level. I was during Saturday Connections, I was at the scroll, and I was looking, and I was like asking the creator, why is this the conduit for so much light? Why is this parchment? Why is this writing so powerful? And I started to understand that on the surface, it's just letters. It's just letters. It's just words. It's just sentences. That's it. But then I started to realize that once you go deeper, and once you start to understand, there's a secret here, there's a secret here, there's a secret here, there's a secret here. There is so much secrets in these writings. What you do need, if you have this desire to connect to the depth, to connect to the truth, then you will start to, through this instrument of the scroll, start to understand things on a deeper level. Understand what is really happening there. Understand what is really happening in your life. What's really happening in your situation. To take this time, always important to take, especially in this month, I highly recommend it, to take at least half an hour a week where you sit with yourself and do your spiritual inventory and say, okay, so how am I doing spiritually? How am I doing in this level? How am I in my relationships? How am I in my relationship with myself? How am I in my relationship with spirituality? How am I in my, in my growth, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But this time to take for yourself and to do this inventory is essential. And this time, main tikkun of humanity is not to take things on a surface level, to always dig deeper. Not to take it like, that's how it is and that's it. To always be interested, to always be curious, to always be like, that's an interesting perspective. Even if something is very set in stone in your mind, Tell yourself, that's an interesting perspective. That's an interesting perspective to yourself, to other people, even if you disagree with someone very, very much. Don't say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Always better to say, that's an interesting perspective. Everyone has a right to a perspective. Everyone. And everyone has an interesting perspective. They really do. And the more you look at life that way, the happier you're going to be. The more you tell yourself that people have very interesting perspectives. That's how we grow. That's how we become better, is by being open and by being a curious mind, by being curious about people's different perspective, people's life, people's way of being, etc. So the more you're going to be in this mindset that it's an interesting perspective, it's a good experience, the happier you're going to be. So before we'll do a meditation, I also wanted to give you a beautiful tool I've been using lately. I think I shared it before, but I want to remind everyone. It's really very, very powerful. That when you wake up, you ask yourself, who am I today? Very simple. Who am I today? Just very simple. You know, we all wake up very different, right? We all wake up. Sometimes you wake up in a great mood. Sometimes you wake up in a groggy mood. Sometimes you wake up in a excited mood. Sometimes you don't want to do anything, etc., and so forth, right? We're all different. We're different every day. But the moment I started to realize, so you're not supposed to answer the question. You just ask the question. But I realized the moment I wake up and ask myself, who am I today? I'm starting to feel myself. How am I doing? Am I happy today? Am I in the flow? Am I excited or am I not? And it immediately gives me an ability to step out of whatever is happening and understand that I am somebody who is observing the situation as well. As much as I'm in the situation, I am also someone who's observing. And when I'm observing, I can actually change it also. You understand? So it's a beautiful tool, really, really beautiful tool for me. Just I realized, who am I today? And how can I have more fun today? How can I have a great adventure today? Those are great statements to tell yourself. So you wake up, you say, who am I today? And how can I have a positive adventure today? How can I have a great experience? You know, another great thing to say is all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. That's it. That's how life comes to me and you, everyone. Okay. Okay, so we'll do a quick meditation to bring all this energy, to receive the assistance of Abraham and Sarah, who are such huge conduits of light of the Creator in this world and for us. In the meditation, if you can follow along, you can just listen to my guidance, etc., whatever is comfortable for you. There's no rules of how it needs to be. So, but we can all start by closing our eyes. And remember, breathing is always meant to be done with your abdominal, with your abdomen, not with your chest, not with your shoulders, not with your neck, not with your upper body, only with your abdomen. A lot of neck pain and back pain only comes because people use way too much of their chest, way too much of their shoulders to breathe. Deep breaths and breathing in general should be conducted through the abdomen, through the diaphragm. So we want to center our consciousness in our heart. We want to send our consciousness to the middle of the earth. And just try to imagine yourself being in that space. Try to imagine being surrounded by so much energy, so much of this endless flow of lava, and so much heat and pressure, and just how does it sound? How does it feel? How does it? Try to imagine it as much as you possibly can. And after that, we want to send this incredible amount of energy to the top of our earth and feel it come through our entire body, from the bottom of our feet, through our calves, our knees, our thighs, our buttocks, our entire body, lower body, upper body, our hands, our neck, our head. And then we want to see how this energy starts to peak and top at the top of our head and form a beautiful ball of light above our head. And after that, I want you to pretend and imagine that you are in this ball of light. And then I want you to imagine that this ball of light starts to elevate, starts to go above the building you're in, and starts to float into the solar system and travel through the entire universe to the edge of the universe, reaching the edge of the universe and starting to go through planes of reality, planes of existence, worlds. And you progressively get to a brighter and very bright layer and plane of light. And after that, we want to go to the next plane that is golden, soothing, relaxing. And after that, we want to go to the next plane that feels like jello or thick water. And we want to start visualizing in the distance a glow of iridescent pearl-like light in the distance. We want to approach this glow. And we want to get close to this opening. It's like a window. And we want to go through this opening and enter the plane of the Creator. And we want to feel a tingling sensation, an iridescent pearl-like light. In the beginning, it sparkles with pink and blue. As we go higher, it just becomes one unified force. I want to visualize as much as possible this infinite energy. And we want to visualize as our ball of light becomes one with this energy, blends and unifies with the Creator. And here we can ask and we can meditate and we can talk to the Creator. And we'll start with simple downloads. We want to receive a download that we are invincible. We can achieve anything that we want. We're limitless. We are destined for greatness. If you want those downloads, say yes. We also want to learn to live our life without certain things, without worry, without stress, without anxiety, without limits. So if you want to receive this download, how to live your life without worry, without stress, without anxiety, say yes. And then we want to connect to the energy that Abraham brings into our world this week, this energy of incredible desire and infinite desire to connect to the Creator, to focus on connecting to the light, to connect to the truth, to connect to what's really going on in our life. So if you want to amplify your desire to connect to the Creator, to connect to the light, to connect to the truth 100 times through Creator's unconditional love, say yes. And you also want to imagine and awaken, try to visualize Abraham, try to visualize this being of sharing, the forefather, this incredible being who just has so much love, so much desire, so much consciousness, so much depth, to ask him to guide us in our life, to guide us in our decision making, in our elevation, in our growth, in our evolution. He's always there for us. He's always there for us. He always wants us to connect, to be more connected, to elevate our consciousness, so we can ask him for his guidance and assistance for the rest of our life, to always be with us, to awaken the true reason for sharing, the true reason to only understand that sharing is done to connect to the light, to create affinity with the light force of the Creator. It's the ultimate reason for sharing in our life. So if you want to connect your soul to Abraham's and Sarah's souls to help us do our spiritual work, say yes and visualize these beings coming to you and infusing you with this light of mercy, this light of chesed, this light of rachamim. We want to use our unified force that we have right now to send healing to the whole world, to send healing, to send unconditional love, peace, prosperity, and abundance to the entire human race, to eliminate and erase disease, poverty, war, all negativity that exists on our planet, to eliminate it and turn our world into a utopia-like state where everyone treats each other with respect, love, kindness, and human dignity. And before we open our eyes, you can just visualize yourself being washed by Creator's light. Fill yourself up with more of this energy and light and open your eyes. All right, thank you everyone for joining. If you want, feel free to unmute yourself.